Town Council to order. We can start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll ask for a roll call.
Mr. Dixon,
Here.
Mrs. Diglio,
Here.
Mrs. LaFois,
Here.
Mrs. Teets,
Here.
Mayor Kus.
Here. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this regular meeting was given to the two newspapers of record and posted on the official bulletin board on January 5th, 2024. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the December 11th, 2023 regular meeting minutes.
I'll offer the December 11th, 2023 regular meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion, amendments? All right, roll call.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mrs. Diglio,
I have to abstain on that. I wasn't there.
Mrs. LaFois,
Yes.
Mrs. Teets,
Yes.
Mayor Kus.
Yes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the December 11th, 2023 executive session minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the December 11th, 2023 executive session minutes.
I'll second that.
Any discussion or amendments to be made?
No, thank you.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mrs. Diglio,
Abstain.
Mrs. LaFois,
Yes.
Mrs. Teets,
Yes,
Mayor Kus.
Yes. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the January 8th, 2024 executive session minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the January 8th executive session minutes.
A second.
I'll second.
Any amendments or discussion to be had?
nothing.
Roll call.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mrs. Diglio,
Yes.
Mrs. LaFois,
Yes.
Mrs. Teets,
Yes,
Mayor Kus.
Yes. At this point in the meeting, the town council welcomes comments from any member of the public on any topic to help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit the opportunity for anyone who wishes to be heard. Speakers are asked to take one turn at the microphone and please limit their comments to 3 minutes. The clerk will keep time. If reading from a prepared statement, please provide a copy and email a copy to the clerk's office after making your comments so it may be properly reflected in the minutes. Council may choose to comment after the entire public portion has concluded. Please identify yourself and spell your last name for the record. As is customary, we'll start with anyone in person rather, who would like to speak.
Good evening, James Hoffman, 37 Duma Drive, HOFMANN. So I stopped in tonight. I understand that you had the meeting and I thought it would be a good idea to just quickly catch up a little bit. Early this morning, I was coming back through our development and all of a sudden I noticed a lot of activity. So I forget how many years ago it was maybe 5 years back. We conducted an open forum at Newton High School to raise awareness and the need for high-speed fiber optic. And I remember at that meeting, Planet Network showed up and a few others from the area, but I don't ever recall hearing or seeing anybody there representing Brightspeed, who I guess is who's doing all this work now. So let's move ahead to this morning. And 20 degrees outside. Well, you would think that a retired technology teacher would welcome a second fiber optic conduit under a sidewalk in the front of my lawn. And, you know, I think I'd really be excited if it wasn't 20 degrees out. And I just was so amazed. I was kind of overwhelmed watching all the workers up there as I passed through. And all I could think of was what would happen if we had an outage, if they nicked the gas line or disrupted the service, you know, in the cold weather. And so then I reached out to Deb Danielson at the DPW this morning, and she was great. she put me at ease. And she told me, she says, don't worry, they're bonded. If they do anything, they've got to fix it right there on the spot. So, that made me feel a little bit better. But then when I came home, I discussed this with my wife a little bit. She's like, well, remember all that fabric we put down on top of it after we lost all those plants and all the wood chips that we put over, all that work that they had done when they created a trench. And so, I just want to remind you all that I don't know how many times this is going to happen, but one fiber optic cable would be enough, but I guess competition's good. But I don't know how many more times this is going to happen. Is someone else coming in after Brightspeed? Do we just don't worry about it? And then, of course, the road up there now, we've lived there just about 25 years, and it's kind of like a washboard at this point. And I'm hoping that once all this is over with, that we can get on the list for paving and get that straightened out. So I just wanted to raise these points with you. It's a concern when it would be tough to get an ambulance or a fire truck through there the way things were this morning. It was just, maybe it's because it was day one. Maybe they'll get better at it as they go along, as their crew knows what they've got to do. But it was just interesting and sort of alarming and a little bit concerning. So that's why I wanted to raise these points with you. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Anyone else in person who would like to speak? Not seeing anyone, we'll move to Zoom. If there's anyone on Zoom who would like to speak?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Oh, fantastic. Hi, my name is Mitzi Bapay. I live in town and uh I'm so sorry. I have something written and ready. I wanted to bring to the forefront of everyone's mind today that January is National Human Trafficking Prevention Month. This is a very important topic to me and therefore a very important month. I work for a nonprofit that helps folks living with diseases such as HIV and AIDS. Mostly, we help allocate donated funds to help people who cannot afford the life-extending medication that they need. A lot of people we help were previously trafficked, most of which are middle-aged, and in a sense, that's a blessing, since A, they made it through their traumatic younger years, and B, because younger youth immune systems are much more fragile. Recently, though, I've noticed an increase of minors coming to our foundation for assistance. One little boy in particular has really touched my heart. Now asked his parents if I could talk about him today, and Mr. and Mrs. Goldberg have graciously given me permission to speak about him. So with great pleasure, I'd like to tell you about little Benny. Ben is 6 years old, and it's a miracle that he's lived long. Ben is living with full-blown AIDS. My first question when Mr. and Mrs. Goldberg came into us is, how did this happen? Because Mr. and Mrs. Goldberg did not need our services. They don't have anything like that. I was incredibly hopeful that it was some sort of freak accident, maybe a tainted blood transfusion. But as I asked, their heads dropped as they began to describe a horrific event, a ritualistic ceremony involving, at the time, 8-day-old infant, surrounded by his family and friends, held by his rabbi. Little Benny had his genitals mutilated and then was orally molested by his rabbi. His life forever changed as I asked if the monster who did this to him was in prison, and I was told that it was completely legal. I questioned why that was, and the only reasoning I found is that our country is ran by a mafia of Jewish pedophiles. Oddly enough, this is happening all over. If you go on nyc.gov, you'll see that children have died of herpes. Thank you so much. And what I find crazy is that girls had this happening to them for a little bit. They were also mutilated, and that was outlawed. And if you look up female circumcision, it was outlawed in 1996. We decided that no cultural right would be given to that. But for some reason, we're not protecting our little boys, and they are dying out there. And I find that disgusting. These babies are going to live with lifelong diseases, and that's just the ones who've caught something. There's plenty of children this is happening to have caught nothing but a traumatic life experience. The future of our society is being systematically hurt, and we're not doing anything to help them. Thank you for letting me speak today.
Is there anyone else on Zoom who would like to speak? Please indicate by raising your hand.
No one else.
Not seeing anyone else with a raised hand on Zoom, we will end the first open to the public session.
Excuse me, I am at a meeting right now.
We
Sorry.
will move on to council and manager reports, starting with town manager Russo.
Nothing at this time, then.
Council member Dixon.
Yes, so the Historic Preservation Advisory Commission meeting for this month was canceled, so I have nothing to report on that. I wanted to thank the DPW for all their hard work these past couple storms. Just cleaning up the roads and making sure everything was clear and that everybody was able to get out and move about. Also want to thank our police, fire, and EMS who still have to answer the call of duty throughout all those weather events. And finally, today is Community Manager Day. So I just wanted to take a quick second, even though it was already done on our social media, and recognize Mr. Russo for all his hard work and dedication to the town of Newton. That's all.
Thank you, Councilmember Dixon. Councilmember Diglio.
Yes, like Matt, I would like to thank the DPW as well as the police and all EMS and Tom for all the work that they do to keep this town going, especially during inclement weather. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Teets.
Good evening, everyone. Likewise, thank the DPW and as always, our police, fire and EMS. I was away yesterday and there was an event on at my neighbor's house, and my sister was just so impressed how quickly everyone responded. And we're just so fortunate to live in a town that has like the best emergency services. So thank you to all of them. And I'd also like to so tomorrow I'm going to I'll be attending my first Board of Education meeting. And also just want to take a quick minute to congratulate our volunteer firemen that some just recently graduated from the police or from the firefighters academy. And I know it's a lot harder and a lot more hours these days, so we appreciate their volunteerism. And we have some new firefighters that will be starting the class, and I wish them a successful completion and hope that they stay safe throughout. And that is all I have for now.
Thank you, Councilmember Teets. Deputy Mayor Laffois.
Thanks, Mayor. So this evening I had the honor of attending the Newton Housing Authority regular meeting. And especially tonight, they're honoring the service of Maria Georgic, who has been involved with the Housing Commission for several years, who unfortunately passed away this past Thanksgiving. But as they were reflecting on her years of service, it was through transitions of executive directors, it was through HUD housing cuts to the building, and I can almost guarantee that she probably knows all 50, residents and people that live in that apartment, and has just so many people said so many kind comments to her. And I just wanted to also publicly thank her for her years of service, for her love of the building, her love of the people, and most specifically her town, the love that she's had for her entire life for the town of Newton. As many of you know, she was the sister of former Mayor Kevin Elvidge. And so it was nice to be with the Elvidge family there this evening. Just remembering Maria, her husband Mark was there, their daughter Alyssa. So it was nice, and many of the residents turned out as well. So that was great. So there are now 2 vacancies on the Newton Housing Authority, because unfortunately on Christmas Day, we lost Mr. Keith Koppel as well. So I'm sure that many of the residents are still, Mr. Koppel was on the authority and then left, and then was living in Sparta, came back, moved into the building, and was just coming back on when he sadly passed away. So, just want to recognize the members of the Housing Authority as they're all kind of reorganizing and trying to settle back into their new normal. speaking of vacancies, we do have vacancies on all of our boards and commissions. And so if you're interested, I encourage you to visit our website to learn more. As Councilwoman Teets mentioned, we have some new membership in the Newton Fire Department. I specifically wanted to recognize Jason Teets, who comes from a long line of firefighters and public servants in his family. It's great to see the next generation of firefighters. I know we already have kind of 2 generations sitting on the fire department. With a couple of families, actually. So it's
Yes.
nice that Jason's officially joined the ranks. I know, I think he was doing some junior firefighter. Service
He
for
was a
while,
junior,
yeah.
yep,
So,
just turned 18, so.
I know later this year we will officially be recognizing, but I did want to mention the pending retirements of Chief Van Newland and Lieutenant Mueller at the end of the year. You know, publicly acknowledge their career of service, wish them congratulations, and like I said, we'll be celebrating them later this fall when they officially retire. The mayor and I attended the planning board meeting on January 17th. The application for 5961 High Street to convert the mixed-use building into apartments was approved. There were 2 other applications. They were carried to the month of February. That meeting will be the 3rd Wednesday of February. Also want to extend my thanks and appreciation to all of our emergency services and storm response. I actually think I saw our crew out before the state got up here to do the state and county roads in the last couple of storms, and did a great job. And happy Town Managers Day, Tom. So thank you for your day in and day out work, and Matt for bringing that to our attention too. I missed that today. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. In addition to all the comments that have been made already, I will add that yesterday I was invited and attended Literacy New Jersey's MLK Day, celebrating a day of service. It's an entity that provides English literacy assistance to those seeking assistance with English as a second language, as well as high school equivalency exams. They recognized all of their volunteers throughout the county to serve as tutors. A couple of the students in the program, 2 from Venezuela and 1 from Mexico, provided an essay regarding Dr. King. It was held at the Presbyterian Church. And if anyone in the community is either interested in being a tutor for the program, they are seeking assistance. And if anyone is in need of assistance with English, they are more than happy to help, and are located throughout the state with a chapter here in Sussex County. To Mr. Hoffman specifically, I believe you have underground utilities in your neighborhood, Mr. Hoffman?
I'm sorry.
You have underground utilities in your development? Yeah. So what I would recommend is taking a look at the easement that probably exists at your property and see what conditions they have. A lot of times there are stipulations as to what the contractors or the utility providers have agreed to in terms of returning the state of your yard to its original condition and such, but that's generally stipulated in whatever easement agreement exists in your property record. And then if I'm not mistaken, I believe that Duma Drive is actually scheduled to be paved this year. So you're on the list.
That's what she told me.
Good.
She said it would be on the list for a year in the future. And she said something about a 5-month moratorium where other providers could come and lay more fiber optic in there. Another, perhaps, even
Yeah.
3 or 4.
And that may be part of the reason that you're seeing a lot of service if we do have it scheduled for paving.
We're gonna gold mine under that
Yeah.
site. You won't see it as such, so.
Yes.
I guess, I'll just have to tell my wife she's gonna have to change the landscaping plans right here
Yeah.
by the sidewalk.
Yeah. Well, the roads will be smoother though, hopefully after all this, but that's all that I have. Thank you. We'll move on to our ordinances, as there is no unfinished business. We'll introduce ordinance 2024-1, which is an ordinance and agreement for the appointment of a municipal engineer for calendar years 2024, 2025, and 2026.
I will offer the introduction of ordinance 2024-1.
Is there a second?
I'll second ordinance 2024-1.
Thank you. A roll call?
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mrs. Diglio,
Yes.
Mrs. LaFois,
Yes.
Mrs. Teets,
Yes.
Mayor Kus.
Yes,
And the hearing will be held on Monday, February twelfth, 7 p.m.
thank you. The second ordinance for introduction, ordinance 2024-2, which is an ordinance to amend, revise, and supplement the town code of the town of Newton, most notably chapter 100 entitled Fees and Costs, section 100-15. I'll entertain a motion to introduce.
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance 2024-2.
Is there a second?
I'll second 2024-2.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mrs. Diglio,
Yes,
Mrs. LaFois,
Yes,
Mrs. Teets,
Yes,
Mayor Kus.
Yes,
And again, the public hearing will be held Monday, February twelfth, 7 p.m.
thank you. We'll now move to the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the town council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Mr. Russo, if you could provide a rundown, please.
Yes, sir. Resolution 61 is a refund for block 505 lot 8 for disabled persons deduction. 62 is a refund for block 808 lot 21, which is 120 Spring Street. 63 refund to outside lien holder block 9.03 lot 5 Water Street. 64 refund for disabled veteran exemption, block 2.01, lot 63. Resolution 65 is certain purchases in excess of bid threshold can go through New Jersey state contracts or purchasing cooperative. 66, cooperative purchasing contract for water testing services for Garden State Labs. 67 is a resolution authorizing emergency repair of a 10-inch water valve at High Street Route 94, which hopefully will start tonight. Resolution 68, bills and vouchers, and then we have 3 applications for the fire department, Teets, Francis A's, and Eliza Shabir.
Thank you. Is there any item that anyone wishes to remove from the consent agenda? Right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is
I'll offer a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
there a second?
I'll second.
Take a roll call.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mrs. Diglio,
yes,
Mrs. LaFois,
Yes,
Mrs. Teets,
yes, with the exception of the application for Jason Teets for the fire department. Otherwise, yes.
Mayor Kus.
Yes. We'll now move to the second open to the public section. All conditions remain the same. Your comments are limited to 3 minutes. The clerk will keep time. At the end of all of the comments, the council may choose to address them. If anyone in public would like to speak, please step forward. Or anyone in person, rather, please step forward. Not seeing anyone in person. If anyone on Zoom would like to speak, please raise your hand to indicate so. Not seeing anyone on Zoom, we'll close the open to the public session. If there are any further council or manager comments, feel free to speak. Not seeing anything, we'll move on and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
make the motion to adjourn at 7:25.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion to adjourn.
Very good. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Being here.